this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a beautiful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. So in the video that I did about the African woman out there screaming at the Black Lives Matter protesters, I got a comment. Let me see. I got a comment from Tedros Desta, FJ6YV. He says, I'm an Ethiopian-American. I have respect for her for not being a victim. So I said, why aren't you in Ethiopia not being a victim? You're all runners and you're a drain on this society. So he came back and said, because I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. This is my home. And then he said, instead of making us your enemy, why not learn from us? That way you'll be as successful as we are in this country and have a better structured community. Now, Mr. Tedros Desta, I believe I'm picking up on male energy, so I think you're a man. And if you're not, I apologize. I believe that you're sincere. I believe you mean well. And so therefore, the Black American family has the ability to listen. At least some of us do. And what we would like for the Black immigrant community to do is listen, study, and learn. Because the key words you used in your first statement was victim. The phrase is being a victim. So we have to unpack that. I can't do it in one video, but I'm going to do my best. So Tedros, forgive me for not pronouncing your name correctly. You kept it classy. So I'm going to keep it classy, but I'm going to get straight to the point. Sir, we arrived in this country as victims, and we have been victimized since we've been here. I don't know how much of our history you know, but our family members were captured in Africa, shackled to the bows of ships, and made the journey across the Atlantic Ocean. Sometimes it took 3 months, laying in the bowels of the ship. And all of their bodily functions took place on that ship in that position. They were afraid to let them come out to even stretch, maybe once or twice during the 3 months, because they were afraid of mutiny on the ocean or of them jumping overboard, which is what many of them did. So what I'm explaining to you is people who were in a victimized position from the very beginning. Before they left Africa, families were divided. The husbands may have gone on a Portuguese ship, the mother a British ship, and the children a Spanish ship. Be it forever known that the women, the men, and the children were sexually abused during and after the journey. I don't know if you're a family man or if you plan to be a family man, but you can imagine how traumatic that would be for all of them, the entire family. That was just the beginning. Once they reached the shores of America, or wherever they went, they were put on auction blocks and sold like animals to the highest bidder. From that point on, they had no agency or control over their lives. They were slaves. They were enslaved by the system sanctioned by the United States government. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole story, but what I have painted to you is a picture of people who were victims of an evil system called chattel slavery. Why not watch the miniseries Roots or read the book by Alex Haley? Now, America does not like to acknowledge what happened during those 246 years of slavery, so they will say that some of it is true and some of it is not true, so it's not strictly historical nonfiction, but it is. So read that book. Google Black American history books, pick up a few, and read about our history and learn about us as a total people, not as the negative images that are portrayed in the media or the bad actors that you might know in your community. We are a very large and diverse group of Americans. So we would love for you to get to know us. But back to the subject. The trauma or tragedies didn't end when slavery ended. We had another 100 years of de facto slavery that was just as bad. That was when our communities were flooded, bombed, shot up, burnt up, and black people's lives didn't mean anything. Now, we survived all of that, but what I have described to you is documented history, and that's also an illustration of victimization, people being victims of a system that they couldn't control. So I find it really interesting that you would use the word victim. We've always been victims of this system. So it makes people like you uncomfortable when you come here and you see us demonstrating and talking to our government, which is our right under our Constitution to protest peacefully, to exercise freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. That's why we can do it without going to jail if we do it peacefully. The lady in the video kept saying, I'm black, I'm black, I'm black. Understand this. We don't recognize her black as our black because she hasn't experienced what we've experienced. Her family didn't pay the price that ours paid. And I've just given you just a snapshot of what has happened here to our families. And still we survived it. So we don't recognize somebody like her ranting about being black when it's not even about being black. Hell, there are Indians here from India that are blacker than we are. Most of us, many of us. But it has nothing to do with being black. It has to do with the lineage that we carry. She doesn't have any right to challenge anything that black Americans do in this country. And an important question to explore is, why did she feel so strongly about that when white people were out there rallying for Black Lives Matter? And the fact that she would try to chastise a white American citizen who was operating on her own social conscience is astounding. A black immigrant from, we don't know where, a Nigerian says she's not from Nigeria. But what was her motive for doing that? Somebody said she tried to run for office in Washington, D.C., and I guess she thought she was going to gain support from white Republicans. She's in the wrong place for that. It's very good that Africans from other parts of the world can come to the United States and build productive lives for themselves. We have a well-oiled machine here that it might seem like black Americans take for granted, but I can assure you we don't take it for granted, because a black immigrant to America would be kind of like you going to a fancy hotel. You drive up to the hotel, you see a beautiful, luxurious building, you get out, you may even have valet parking, you go into the hotel, it's very elegant, lavish in some cases. You go into the restaurant or the ballroom, beautifully decorated, the food is wonderful, the service is wonderful, you have a wonderful time, you have an after dinner speaker who gives an inspiring address, and you just feel wonderful, and you leave the hotel feeling like you have had an extraordinary experience. And you have, as a black immigrant. But a black American might have an entirely different perception of that very same experience. When a black American drives up to that hotel, they are going to know that their ancestors' blood, sweat, and tears went into building that hotel. Not only building it, but paying for it with their labor. You understand? When a black American goes into the hotel, as luxurious as it might be, and as good as they might feel for being there, they also know that their ancestors would have had to cook that food, grow that food, cook that food, serve that food, clean up that hotel, and taken all kinds of horrendous treatment in the process. So it's a different experience. You understand? So while the black immigrant might leave that hotel feeling wonderful, the black American might leave that hotel with a migraine headache and not understand why. You might be an American citizen. You came here, stayed a few years, took a test, and somebody said, now you're an American citizen. That's great. That's great for you. You're not from the soil. You didn't suffer for it. You don't hear the cries of your ancestors in America. Geneticists tell us that DNA has memory, so we're still suffering from the pains of our ancestors. Now, some of us have handled it better than others, just like in your country of Ethiopia. Some Ethiopians get up and get out of there and come to the United States and have a great life. But some of them are still in Ethiopia suffering. And Ethiopia brags about never having been colonized, but they're still suffering on some level. We hear the cries of our ancestors, and it motivates us. We have compassion for each other. And that's why you see black people out there who are doing really well in life, advocating for the least of these, my brother. Dr. Martin Luther King had a doctorate degree. He could have gone up in the Northeast and taught at a university and got a big church somewhere and lived the life of a king. But he heard the cry of his ancestors. And that is why black Americans who are doing quite well financially and who are living great lives, like I have a great life. There are a lot of white women in America that would love to have my life, would love to have it. But I hear the cry of my ancestors. And that's the difference between you and us. But I absolutely appreciate the opportunity to have this discussion with you. And I can say that of all of the black immigrants to the United States, I still think Ethiopians rank up there among the best, because you don't keep up mess in the country. And that's good. You said we could learn from you how to build structured communities. I would love, that would be wonderful, if we could learn from each other. That would be wonderful. Thank y'all for listening. Let me know what you think about the video. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video. And as always, have a great day.